Welcome back to the Stay Hype podcast, where I help you heighten your personal experience through my own experience on this earth. I'm your host, Kristen, and we are back with a special episode today titled Grieving on Father's Day. And as you can see, I have a special guest, my beautiful friend, Gina.
Hi.
This is Gina. And the reason why we are recording this episode, Grieving on Father's Day, is because we are both grieving on Father's Day. It's Father's Day weekend, and Gina came to see me in Tulum, which was such a treat, and her energy's been so amazing. But it also just kind of brought up how we are both grieving in different ways around our fathers. And since it's Father's Day weekend, we thought it would be nice to kind of share our experience and help those of you who may be estranged from your father, if your father is already transitioned, or if you're in a toxic relationship with your father, and this is a really kind of tender and emotional and tough day for you. So we're just going to kind of flow. As you guys know, it is Father's Day, and I'm going to speak on my experience first, just my relationship, and then I'll let Gina talk about her experience with Father's Day. So for me, I am in no contact with my father. He is still here. He's still on this earth, but I've had to grieve him as if he wasn't. And so it's been a very a convoluted, tricky, very emotional process, because grieving someone who's still on this earth is a different experience. But I want to let Gina kind of talk about her experience and why she's grieving with her father today, and kind of go back and forth on the differences on that.
So my father, which I really call him Daddy, so my daddy, and there's nothing wrong on calling them that, right? He actually passed away on October 11th of 2020, unfortunately from COVID. And it has been definitely a rough years, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the persons that actually is in the middle of in denial and admitting the fact that he's gone, that he's no longer with us. And my dear friend Kristen, she always lets me know that although they're not here in 3D, always still here in spirit. And so there is never really a right or wrong way to grieve. And unfortunately, I have a few other friends that are grieving, and they have their own way of grieving. And you just really have to find your moments of sadness and weakness and vulnerability, but then also remember that there's still life that's ahead of you. There's people that are looking up to you. I have a daughter that she's 16, turning on to 17. She's been such a great support system too. Sometimes I break down, and she's actually my support.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that those roles have turned, and I'm very thankful and grateful for her and my family and friends. And thank you, Kristen, for letting me speak on behalf of my story and my experience. Of course, there were many people that passed due to COVID. In my situation, specifically, I was at least fortunate enough to hold his hand, which a lot of people didn't do. So I have to kind of be grateful in some of those things. And so, yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I know that you've had a really hard time really expressing yourself and these emotions, and you've kept them in a lot and suppressed them, and doing other things, and which is totally normal and fine. We all grieve when we're ready to grieve. We feel those emotions when we're ready to feel the emotions. And so just first of all, thank you so much for even being willing to speak and talk to the world about this, because I know that this is not something that you just walk around shouting to the rooftops right now, because it's really sensitive and it's painful, and talking about it makes it more real, right?
Right.
So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. You know, obviously my experience is much different than yours. My dad is sick. He does have stomach cancer. But we are on very bad terms. The last time that I spoke to him was actually in the ICU, moments after he got diagnosed, and it was a huge blowout, and there has just been so much trauma and pent up anger and sadness that I've been carrying from my dad, to the point where I just had to make a decision for myself back in last August to just completely go no contact. And so for me, it's been a very weird feeling situation, grieving somebody that at the time when I was in Florida, we're in Mexico today, but when I was in Florida, I was about 45 minutes, an hour away from my dad. And here I am grieving him every single day. And I was waking up with anxiety. I was waking up waiting to get a phone call. It is almost like I was just grieving his death that hasn't even happened yet. And it's because I had to make a decision to go no contact. I had to make a decision for my mental health to say, even though this person is my father, and I'll always have that love for him because he's my father, at the end of the day, who he is as a person is not conducive to my mental health, and really getting honest about people in my life. And my father just unfortunately wasn't a healthy person to be in my life. So this day, Father's Day brings up so many emotions, for me, on the experiences that I've never really had with a dad. But I know for you, you were a lot closer with your dad, and you had, I think, a healthier relationship than I did. And so I could see how this could be even more painful because you have so many positive memories. And so if you want to talk a little bit about, what has been the hardest thing for you to process right now?
It's just hard when you just want to call him, and just the simplest things of just wanting to hear their voice, right? And you can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't, and it's just so damn hard.
Yeah.
You can't really sometimes describe it. It's
No, I get it. It's okay. What was your relationship like with your dad?
So my dad, he was a helper. He was a lover. Everyone loved my dad.
I did. I mean, I got to meet him. I had the pleasure of meeting your dad, and he's such a free spirit, so lively, loves to dance, always so hugging, loving. I felt comforted there because I didn't get that experience. So your dad was amazing.
He was so goofy. I get my goofy side from my dad, and he was such a hard worker, and he was always there for my mom. He sometimes would cook more than my mom, and or clean better than my mom, and she even says that too. So this is not like shade on her at all. But he was always there when I needed him, and that's truly what affected me, and just him being present in and him watching his movies that he loved, Asian movies, and and in the background, we would kind of make fun of him because it's like, because the subtitles would be in English, but then the words weren't the same as the mouth. So it was just so funny, and just him making us laugh and being there. We would have cookouts and barbecues, and
always
he would sing. He was a great singer, and
so are you.
I just I just miss just everything about him, and it just sucks, honestly. It just there's no way. Sometimes there's good days where I just kind of laugh about things that he would used to do, or or I would smile, and then there are some days where I would just cry because he's not here.
And that's okay. And that is okay. And that's so beautiful that you allow yourself to go through every single emotion. I mean, I hear from so many people that grief is such a roller coaster. It's not linear. And some days you're angry. Some days you're super sad. Some days you're happy and you're joking. Some days, you're resentful. There's just so many feelings that come up. And, I feel a lot of those feelings too. I don't think I feel it on the level that you do because it's still in my head. Oh, my dad is breathing. He's living. He's down the street. But I'm anticipating that call all the time. It's a very scary way to think and live, which is why the last few months I've had to really disconnect and just try to be more present and tell myself that I will deal with these emotions when they get there. No, I don't think anyone can really prepare for what it actually feels like when they're gone.
Right.
And that there's no amount of preparation for that. And so, yeah, it's kind of scary. It is. It definitely is.
So when they said that my dad had COVID and he was admitted in the hospital, he was literally fighting for his life for 3 months in the hospital.
Yeah.
And they even, did all these tests and everything. And at one point, it was almost kind of like, oh, we thought that he was going to make it.
Yeah.
But it just attacked his lungs so bad to the point where, he couldn't truly breathe. And there was, at the very end, he was aware of his surroundings, but then he couldn't talk anymore. And so what's really upsetting is that, it seems like he wanted to say so much.
Yeah.
Like at the very end, even to the point where I even had to explain to him, oh, do you want to be resuscitated if anything happens, and I had to explain that it's possible that when they do that, their ribs can break. And when I explained to him that, he would just kind of be like, why would they have to break my ribs, And, I'm nowhere near like a medical person, of anything like that. But that's what they explained. And he was just like, break them. Like, he would just, break them.
Yeah.
And he just, looking back at it, I don't know if he was just being just strong for us, because, we just were, a family of four. And then, of course, my daughter and other, my brother got married and, all that things. But, my mom and my dad were still together. And there was just such a role model of their love story. And it was just hard when just something so random that came to this world broke that up.
Yeah.
And it really tore our lives apart.
Of course.
And of course, after that, anytime a death happens in the family, there's always going to be some type of drama, right?
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, we just learn to grieve in our own different ways. I grieve differently from my brother. My brother grieves differently from my mom. My daughter Gabby, she grieves differently. Everyone grieves differently.
Yeah.
So it's just been hard, and every Father's Day is the hardest, of course, because it's my father. But that was actually the last time that that we were together. Was Father's Day of 2020. And then he got sick shortly after that. So it's double time because that was the last day.
Yeah.
And so I'm here with Mexico
Yeah,
with you.
I'm glad you're here with me.
And I really thank you that you're supporting me. And it's just, I sometimes try to escape from reality.
We
You
all
already,
do. We all do.
you know,
In our own
you
ways.
know.
We all do. We all do.
So I'm, I'm just trying to process my feelings still, even after all of these years, and it's only been a few, a few years. Uh, and it's something that I'm truly not going to heal from, obviously, um, but it's just we kind of know how to process it a little bit better. But truly, you know, his their love will still be in our hearts always.
Yeah.
So
I feel the same. I feel the same. I have so much love for my dad as well. I don't have as many great memories of my dad, but he's still my dad. And the empathetic child in me and the compassion in me feels for him because I know that my dad has had a very, very tough childhood, a very tumultuous childhood, a very sad upbringing that led him down the path of who he is and how he treated other people. And for me, I really had to take the rose-colored glasses off because, I would see relationships like you and your dad. I would see relationships like some of my other friends who are close with their dad. And I know we all have our things. I know we all have our stuff. No one's perfect. But the love is there. The patience and the kindness between you guys. You could see it. You could see that. And that's not my experience. That's not my experience growing up having a loving father that's there for me and I could talk to about anything. Yeah, me and my dad, we were able to have some conversations, but it was only on the surface and it would never be anything about me and him. He loved giving me advice, about other people, but I could never, ever talk to him about my relationship with him. And so it caused such a wedge and it caused so much resentment and anger because of how he treated me. And I was really emotionally abused by my dad and physically abandoned. And so I don't have the best memories. And so for me, I feel like my inner child is grieving the dad that I didn't get and will never get. I'm grieving the dad that I, I didn't have. I didn't have the dad that comes and helps you move all your stuff and hangs up the pictures. I didn't have the dad that he didn't come to my graduation, my high school graduation, just didn't miss it, just missed it. I didn't have the dad that showed me how to respect women. I saw him disrespecting my mother and other women in his life my entire life. I've never seen him be a divine masculine role model on how to be treated. And that led me down such a tumultuous path of toxic relationships. And so, yeah, this last year, taking the rose colored glasses off and seeing my dad for who he really is has been so painful. And grieving someone who's still alive is a really surreal experience because one side, it's like I can't have him in my life because he hurts me, he brings more pain to my life. And then the other side, it just seems so ridiculous because I hear stories like you where I know that you would give anything to have your dad down the street. And here I do have one, and there's just no connection. And so it's painful. It's feeling that those feelings of abandonment and unworthiness and not feeling wanted definitely comes up. Those are usually my feelings around Father's Day, like the feelings of abandonment and just not being wanted by my dad because he's still alive and making a choice not to be in our lives the way he should be. So it's both ends of the spectrum. I know a lot of people who are listening can relate to Gina, and I know a lot of people can relate to me. And I guess any words of encouragement to someone who maybe has just lost a parent recently as far as processing their feelings and not feeling rushed and not feeling forced to be okay and be a certain way? Is there any words of advice that you could give anyone listening from your own experience?
I mean, like I mentioned before, everyone kind of grieves differently, so I can't say this is going to work for you and then it won't work, of
Oh
course.
yeah, no.
But it it's kind of cliche to say, and we've probably heard it before, but it's okay to not be okay.
That's
And
what I was getting at. There we go.
so exactly, it's okay to not be okay. we have our days, we have our months, we have our years, we could have decades, there's no true time limit to fully and truly be okay. um, and don't let anyone pressure you into being okay or thinking you're okay. I hate that sometimes uh, people pressure other people that are grieving, or just even judge people, and they're like, oh, well, she's smiling in this picture, oh, she must be okay.
Yeah.
And I just hate that, because that's not true. You know, we always have inner demons, inner struggles, and that smile could just be a mask for that photo. It's that it's like you go like this and it's
Yeah.
like a smile, and then
Yeah.
you go like this and it's a frown.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Maybe for that photo, it's you made that smile, but then
Yeah.
back to reality, you're just frowning. And sometimes even people that are grieving think they have to show that happy face or
Yes.
show that they're okay.
Yes.
And that's not true. And I am very strong-willed, and sometimes you truly have to check on your strong friends. You truly have to see it and reach out to them.
Yeah.
You can't just say, oh, well, she's strong, she'll be okay. And that's not the case. You have to check on your sensitive friends, your, strong friends.
All your
all
friends.
all friends,
All friends need to be checked on, okay?
Yes. Just because they're strong or you think they're stronger, no, we're suffering just as much as any other person. And so there's sometimes like those misconceptions and those judgments.
No, that's something I wanted to ask you though too, because for me, I always feel I don't know how to go about it. Do you mind if people ask you about your dad and ask you how you're doing and bring him up? Because for me, I don't want to, if you are having one of those better days and you're just in your flow, and then I go to like think about you, I'm like, man, should I text her? I don't want to bring it down. So what do you feel? Because I never know how, if I should ask or if I shouldn't, because I don't want to bring you into a darker space if you were doing good.
Right. So I think anytime you do ask me, or anyone asks me, I mean, I always cry. So regardless if you're asking me on a good day or a bad day, I'm still gonna probably cry about it.
Okay.
But I think that it is best to communicate how you want to maybe receive support, because there might be some people that like that constant communication and constant like on top of you, whereas some other people, they kind of want to be left alone, and they're probably looking at all these texts and just ignoring them because that's not what they want. So
Yeah.
of course on your own time, but if you do have that energy and space to actually communicate on how you would best be getting that support, by all means, I would definitely mention that to any of the friends that are actually reaching out, or the friends that are not are
Yeah.
reaching out. And then if they're not reaching out, are they really your friends?
Yes.
So for me, I kind of have my moments and days, but if, let's say, you were to message me and I wasn't feeling up for it, I shouldn't feel pressured to message you just because you messaged me.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And this is not just you, that's just for anyone. Just because someone messaged you, don't think that the clock is ticking, that you have several minutes or several hours
No, yeah.
to respond to
That's
them.
just for anything. Go anything.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, we don't need to respond. But yes, I'm glad you said that, because I know a lot of people probably feel obligated because this person's checking on me and I feel bad. But if you're not ready to talk and you don't want to talk that day, you don't need to.
Or that week, or
that week or month. Yeah, you don't
yeah.
need to say anything. Yeah, that's you.
Right.
That's what you need to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm really grateful that you're here. I'm really proud of you for speaking about this. I know it is very difficult. I know it's so painful. And I know, like I said in the beginning, speaking about it makes it even more real. And sometimes when we just keep it in, like you said, the denial, it feels good for a little. It feels good until until we have to keep going through it. But like that is just the way that our brain and our body does when traumatic things like that is so traumatic. Losing a parent that way, especially in the way that you did, is super, super traumatic. And so I'm so proud of you. I really am. I'm proud of you for grieving in the way that you need to, talking about it when you want to, having those boundaries when you don't, and just allowing yourself to kind of go through this journey, this never-ending journey we call grief. And thank you for the support that you've given me too. I know that death is inevitable. It's something that we all have to experience on this planet. No one is going to get away from it, but it's something that you truly cannot prepare for.
Definitely.
No one. You can hear people's stories, but until you're actually in the position, you have no idea how you're going to react, how you're going to grieve, how you're going to show up, how you're going to respond. You have no idea. So just please be kind. Don't judge, like she said. Give people their space, and don't get frustrated with people if they're still in that space. Again, everyone grieves differently, and so we just need to have more compassion and patience and kindness for our loved ones that are grieving.
Just be cautious of the words that you do say. I received a lot of "it's going to be okay," and it's like, oh, is it really? That would like irk me so much, because it's like, how do you know? It's going to be okay in the sense of what, but.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it is a very nervous. It's just, what do you say? What do you say? It's like a lot of people get super nervous around death, and it's a very scary thing, because it's not everybody's experiencing it every single day. It's not like we're losing family members every single day to where we're all just, I've never lost someone super close. My dad will be the first person, and I'm not wishing it. I hope that he makes a recovery. Again, we're not talking. He's hopefully healing. I've had to detach from that, but I've never lost someone super close to me and like this. Never. So it's terrifying. The feelings, anticipating the feelings, it's terrifying. Right. But I'm glad you said that too. So now I know, because I think I've probably said that too. So I'm glad. These are all things that I need to learn as well, because we don't know what we say, and I don't want to ever say anything that hurts you or offends you, because it's never my intention.
I mean, knowing me.
I know, but I have to say it. This is real. We're being real. We're real on here. I have to hold myself accountable for things too. I don't know. Like, I'm sure I've said that. I'm not going to put it past myself, because it's just something that we say is going to be okay. I don't know, but obviously, that doesn't feel good in the moment, because I'm literally torn apart right now. I'm torn open. It doesn't feel like everything's going to be okay. So your words are just words. I get it. So thank you for saying that.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that. I needed to know. But is there anything else that you'd like to say? Anything else you want to talk about as far as your process, your dad, anything that you need to get off your heart?
You did mention something to me the first day that I got here in Mexico. And like I mentioned before, I am still in that in between of denial and admitting the fact that he's gone. And you mentioned that even though, again, like, he's not here in 3D, he's here in spirit. And so talk to him, and, he'll listen, and he wants to hear you, and sometimes talking to him just makes it more real. But I did talk to him, especially last night. And it wasn't a long paragraph. I just said, I miss you, But he visited me last night in my dreams, and there was a certain situation that happened prior, but he put something on the bed in that particular item that was his, and he put it on there. And I looked at him and I said, I don't want that. I just rather have you. And in that moment, we just hugged and we started crying. And it just felt so real. It felt so real. And
And then I woke up and it is real that he's gone. But I felt that he listened to me because I told him I missed him and he came.
That's so beautiful, Gina. That's so beautiful. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I know that was so tough for you to speak to him. So proud of you. I really am. You're doing amazing. Every single day is a new day, and however you feel on each day is perfect. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being vulnerable. Thank you for even agreeing to do this. As I told you, please, I was like, do not feel pressure. Do not feel pressure. I don't want you to feel pressure to speak if you're not ready to speak. But clearly, you were ready to get some of this off of your heart, and you're going to help so many people through their healing and their grieving as well. So just thank you so much.
I love
I
you.
appreciate you. I love you too. We need hugs. We need a hug. Okay, we're going to finish crying this out and being here for each other.
I wore waterproof mascara.
I know, you were doing it. I'm like, okay, I don't know about this makeup.
I don't know. Should I give him a good review?
I mean, actually, it's really good. There's nothing. It looks perfect. There's really nothing. It worked. So, all right, guys, this is our time. We're going to go just enjoy the rest of our trip. We're going to go take care of each other, be there for each other. I hope that this gave you a little bit of comfort and let you guys know that you're not alone. If this is your situation, whether you, like I said, you identify with Gina or myself, know that you're not alone. We're going to get through this together, and just make sure that you reach out for support as well. You don't have to go through it alone. So if you're feeling like, man, I'm feeling very alone, I need to speak to somebody, speak to someone that you know cares about you, that you trust. You're not a burden. Your feelings are not a burden. They're valid. They matter. You matter. How you feel matters. And just have grace. Have grace and patience for yourself.
And I want to add to that, as far as like, even if you don't have someone that is, if you don't have a support system, there are many groups that are available to you within within the communities and the cities that you live in. So definitely do your research on that, because I didn't even know those even existed until something like this happened to me. So I always thought that, there were just other different meetings, but there's meetings for, grief support. And so that's definitely something that I did want to mention, because sometimes you feel like you're alone and you don't have anyone. And it's probably the case that maybe you don't have anyone, but there are groups for that. So
thank you so much for saying that. Because you're right. Some people don't have all these friends and family to reach out. That is very much a reality for some people. So thank you so much for saying that.
of course.
All right, guys. Well, that is our time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you again, Gina, for being my first guest. And yes, I will see you guys next time. I love you. Bye.